In this video, we're going to go through the 3 questions from assignment 122B, which is called Writing and Solving Systems of Equations Algebraically. So on the screen here, I have the 3 questions. You also have these 3 questions shared with you on Google Classroom. Question number 1, 8 tamales and 1 bowl of beans cost $35. 8 tamales and 3 bowls of beans cost $41. Find the cost of 1 tamale and the cost of 1 bowl of beans. Solve the system of equations algebraically. Show your work. So when it tells you to solve algebraically, that means you're going to write equations. You're going to use variables. You're going to use inverse operations to solve those equations. And when it says to solve a system of equations, that means that you will be writing more than one equation. Usually, in 8th grade, systems of equations will have 2 equations. So in this question, we have 2 things that are unknown. We don't know the cost of 1 tamale, and we don't know the cost of a bowl of beans. So let's start by just over here. I'm going to write let T be the cost of 1 tamale. What this does is it tells anyone that's looking at this work that I'm using the variable t to represent the cost of 1 tamale. And I'm going to do the same underneath, and so I'm going to write let b be the cost of 1 bowl of beans. So I've established which variables I'm going to use in this problem. You can use any variables you want. I would suggest not using L or O because they look like 1 and 0. And if you're not sure what variables to use, X and Y are always good ones to use. In fact, when we graph, we always use X and Y, right? So it would make sense to use X and Y for these as well. But for this question, I'm going to use T and B. So now we need to take each of the 2 sentences in this problem and write them as an equation. So the top one says 8 tamales plus 1 bowl of beans is equal to $35. If I take the cost of 1 tamale T and I multiply it by 8, I'd have the amount of money we spend on all the tamales. And if I take the cost of 1 bowl of beans B and multiply it by 1, I'd have the cost of all the beans we've bought. I bought 8 tamales and I bought 1 beans, and altogether those two purchases would be $35. So that's our first equation. Now let's write our second equation. 8 tamales plus 3 bowls of beans is equal to $41. Same thing as the first one. We've set up, 8 times T means 8, the number we're purchasing, times the cost, which we don't know. And we have 3 bowls of beans, but we don't know how much they cost. So this is called a system of equations. And to solve a system of equations, we're going to use something called elimination method. Now, to use elimination method, we're hoping that there's something in both equations that are in common. And when we ask ourselves, what's the difference between these 2 equations? Something there has no difference, so it'll just be ignored. We can just cancel it out. We can eliminate it. That's why it's called elimination method. So if I ask myself, what's the difference between these 2 equations? Difference means subtract. So I'm going to put a big old line and a big old minus sign, and I'm going to subtract. What's 8t minus 8t? There is no difference, right? So I'm just going to eliminate them. I'm going to ignore them for now. 1b minus 3b, the difference between those is negative 2b. And 35 minus 41 is equal to negative 6. So you might say to yourself, we're buying negative 2 bowls of beans and it costs negative $6. Well, that'll all work out in a second, because when we solve this equation, this negative 2b equals negative 6, we're going to end up dividing a negative by a negative, and we'll get a positive. And we just figured out that beans cost $3 per bowl. So after you use elimination method and subtract, you'll end up with a one-step equation that you just have to solve. And that'll give you the value of one of the variables in the problem. Okay. Now we need to find the cost of tamales. So to do this, we pick one of the original equations and write it again. Now we have a little more information. Last time we wrote this, we didn't know anything. Now we know that beans cost $3. So I'm going to write the equation again, but I'm going to plug in the fact that beans are 3. I'm going to substitute 3 in wherever I see a b in the equation. And I'm going to solve this equation. 1 times 3 is 3, so this equation is 8t plus 3 equals 35. Let's use inverse operations to solve this. I'm going to use minus 3 to both sides. Get 8t equals 32. And I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And I'm going to get t equals 4. That means tamales cost $4 each. So that's the answer to question 1. They wanted us to find the cost of one tamale, $4, and the cost of one bowl of beans, $3. And we solved it algebraically, and we showed all our work. Let's do question 2. 5 kebabs and 3 pieces of baklava cost $30. 9 kebabs and 3 pieces of baklava cost $42. Find the cost of one kebab and the cost of one piece of baklava. Solve this system of equations algebraically. Show your work. So I'm going to use x and y this time. Let x be the cost of a kebab, and let y be the cost of a piece of baklava. All right, x is going to be the cost of kebabs, y is going to be the cost of baklava. So 5 kebabs plus 3 baklavas, the total cost of those two things is $30. And 9 kebabs plus 3 baklava is $42. Let's use elimination method. Look at that, there's 3y in both problems. So when I say to myself, what's the difference between these two equations? The difference between these two is a negative 4x, right? 5x minus 9x is negative 4x. 3y minus 3y, those will cancel for now. And 30 minus 42 is negative 12. So negative 4 kebabs cost negative $12. And when we divide both sides by negative 4, we get x equals 3. So kebabs cost $3 each. Now, when we were subtracting, we got negatives, and that's kind of annoying, right? So I just want to show you something that at any time, you're allowed to change the order of the equations in the system of equations. So I swapped them. I put the 9x on top and the 5x on the bottom. I swapped everything though. Notice the 42 also moves to the top and the 30 moves to the bottom. You might want to rearrange the order just so that when you subtract 9 minus 5, it's a positive 4x. 3y minus 3y cancels. 42 minus 30 is 12. You're going to end up with the same answer. But I know a lot of us don't like negatives, so if you change the order so that the greater values on top, when you subtract, you'll end up with a positive. So anyway, kebabs cost $3 each. Now let's use that information to find the cost of baklava. So I'm going to pick one of the original equations. I always like to pick the one with the lower number, so I'm going to use the top one. 5x plus 3y equals 30. And now that I know that kebabs are $3, I'm going to plug that in to x, because x represents the cost of a kebab. 5 times 3 is 15. Hey, look, we have an equation to solve. Let's do minus 15 to get that 15 to go away. 3y equals 15. Divide both sides by 3, and we end up with y equals 5. So a piece of baklava costs $5, and the cost of a kebab is $3. And last question, number 3. 1 chicken pad thai and 6 spring rolls cost $21.50. 3 chicken pad thais and 6 spring rolls cost $46.50. Find the cost of 1 chicken pad thai and the cost of 1 spring roll. Solve the system of equations algebraically. Show your work. So I'm going to say let x equal cost of pad thai. Now these let statements are important. You'll see sometimes, and this is okay, you abbreviate or write, you don't write all the words as long as you make it clear what each variable means. So I said x is the cost of a pad thai and y is the cost of a spring roll. Let's set up our two equations here. 1 pad thai plus 6 spring rolls is $21.50. 3 pad thai plus 6 spring rolls equals $46.50. I'm going to ask myself, what's the difference between these two equations? 1x minus 3x is negative 2x. 6y minus 6y will cancel. 21.50 minus 46.50 is going to be negative. 50 minus 50 is 0. 6 minus 1 is 5. 4 minus 2, 2, negative 2x. So negative 2 pad thais cost negative $25. Let's divide both sides by negative 2, and we'll get that x, the cost of a pad thai, is $12.50. Now to find the cost of spring rolls, pick one of the original equations. I'm going to use the bottom equation. 3x plus 6y equals $46.50. On the last question I said, I always like to pick the numbers that are smaller. But in this one, I picked the bottom one. It doesn't matter which equation you pick. You'll get the same answer for either equation. If spring rolls are, or sorry, if pad thai is $12.50, let's put that in right there. Once you plug in and you only have one variable, it's just an equation we have to solve. $12.50 times 3 is $37.50 plus 6y equals $46.50. Let's solve using inverse operations. Subtract $37.50 from both sides and get 4 minus 3, 1, 6, 7, 9. So it's $9. And divide both sides by 6 and get y equals, what's 9 divided by 6? It's $1.50, isn't it? Yeah, $1.50. So that means spring rolls cost $1.50 each. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.